Once again, a very good evening to all of you. I, Architect Srishti Gaur on behalf of Griha Council, would like to extend a very warm welcome to each one of you for the session Cascading Innovation, Climate Smart Water Security. Water scarcity is one of the critical environmental issues which have been exacerbated by climate change, rapid urbanization, and unsustainable consumption patterns. This session will explore innovative solutions to address water scarcity and ensure water security for future generations. The deliberations will focus on water reuse and recycling systems, sustainable watershed management practices, and the role of advanced technologies such as AI and IoT in optimizing water distribution and monitoring systems. This session aims to foster actionable strategies to improve water resilience at national level while promoting sustainable water management practices. On that note, I would now like to invite our esteemed chair for the session to please come upon the dais. With us, ladies and gentlemen, we have Dr. Veena Srinivasan, Executive Director, Well Labs. Can we have a round of applause for her, please? Dr. Veena is a social hydrologist dedicated to transforming water systems across India through research, partnerships, and collective actions. An award-winning researcher, she has received an IWA Award and Development Award in the year 2023 and the Jim Duke Award in the year 2015. She also chairs the UN SDG 6 Strategic Advisory Group and serves on the board of IWMI. We welcome you, ma'am. Now, I would like to invite the panelists on the dais. With us, we have Ms. Anupama Madhok, Director and Editor, Water Digest. Can we have a round of applause, please? Ms. Anupama is an award-winning entrepreneur and advocate for women in water who has been recognized with multiple national water awards by the Ministry of Jal Shakti. She serves on the Maharashtra's MCIFRA Consultative Committee and the ICIT Task Force on Women Empowerment in Water Management, shaping policy and outreach in the sector. We welcome you, ma'am. Next, we have Mr. Ganesh Shankar, founder and CEO of FluxGen. Can we have a round of applause, please? Mr. Shankar champions AI and IoT-driven water solutions for industries. Co-founder of the Sustainability Mafia, he fosters collaboration among sustainability leaders. An IISc alumnus with experience at GE and ISRO, he drives technology-enabled environmental impact, aiming to create a water-positive future through deep tech innovations. We welcome you, sir. Next, we have Ms. Mansi Jain, co-founder and CEO Digital Pani. Round of applause, please. Ms. Jain leads an AI-driven climate tech startup revolutionizing wastewater treatment in India. Her leadership enables treatment of 100 million liters of water daily across 65 plus facilities, achieving up to 80% water reuse. A Forbes 30 Under 30 Asia honoree and 2024 Cartier's Women Initiative Fellow, she drives scalable, sustainable water solutions. We welcome you, ma'am. We have Mr. Rajesh Jha, Country Sustainability Manager, ABB India. Can we have a huge round of applause, please? Mr. Jha brings over 16 years of experience in sustainability and currently leads the environmental initiatives of ABB India. The national level winning ESG expert, he serves as chair of Sustainability Committee of BCIC and contributes to Swedish Chamber of Commerce and CIA Karnataka ESG teams. His expertise also spans net zero strategies, water positivity, circular operations and international sustainability projects across Norway, Thailand and Switzerland. We welcome you, sir. And we have Mr. Karthik Chaturvedi, Program Associate, Council of Energy, Environment and Water. Can we have a huge round of applause for sir, please? Mr. Chaturvedi brings expertise in urban wastewater governance, circular economy, and sustainable urbanization. He has worked with the Global Solutions Initiative GIC in Berlin and Cities Alliance on research spanning circular economy, urban metabolism, and the informal economy. We welcome you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm round of applause to welcome our guest to the dais. Thank you. Before we begin the session, I request the chair and the panelists to please come forward for a group photographs. Thank you so much, everyone. With this, I now take the opportunity to request Dr. Veena to kindly take forward the session. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to my distinguished panelists and, of course, all of the audience that's here this time of the afternoon. This is the thematic track 1 of the 17th Riga Summit, focusing on cascading innovations for climate smart water security. So I don't need to kind of explain to this audience that water is at the core of climate change, and climate change impacts are going to impact themselves through water, both through intensifying extremes, both in terms of droughts and floods. The group here comes from very different backgrounds, but each of them in their own way has kind of pushed the envelope towards solving the issue of climate and water security. So I think we all understand that we can't do what we've been doing for the last 50 years, and we kind of need to do differently. And I think the question that we want to focus on in this panel is basically looking at sort of 2 or 3 different buckets. We want to look at water reuse and recycling. We want to look at sustainable water resources, sustainable watershed management, looking at nature-based solutions, for example, or green infrastructure. And then we want to look at what's going to happen with advances in technology, AI, IoT, digital twins, all of that. Now, everybody here comes from a very different background. So Anupama comes from a media background, and then Mansi, Ganesh and Rajesh are coming from the private sector, and then Karthik is coming from the think tank, non-profit sector, like myself. So I think what I'm going to try and do is broadly ask everybody to first tell me about how their own work is kind of addressing water security, and then talk a little bit about how AI and innovation are kind of changing your space. So how is that kind of making you do different things? How are you adapting? How are you kind of taking advantage of this new world that we live in? So Anupama, I'll start with you. You come, of course, from Water Digest, which is a media enterprise, and your really work is critical because, in a sense, you evangelize some of these technologies, you create awareness, and you also help shape perceptions and therefore behavior. So can you tell us a little bit about how you approached it, and then how your world is changing because of technology, AI, and innovation?
Thank you, Chair. You rightly said we come from one of the segment which has to be very responsible when it comes to disseminating the information. So basically, Water Digest have been in the space of water sector for almost 2 decades now. And I think by now I can say that every day we get to meet and interact with various new technology providers, innovators, and the challenge is that the languages in which, once the technology is basically it is being generated in the labs, and it is a research work, so it is technically content heavy, and when it comes to the media side, things need to be simplified in a language where the technology reaches to the implementation part, where the beneficiaries should be knowing that this kind of technology exists. At the same time, availability of the technology with a robust and the right kind of policies with which the beneficiaries can take advantage of the technology with the right kind of economic value associated with it. So with all this chain, what we do, we try taking up the case studies and stories from various parts of the world. We reach out to the technology providers. We try disseminating the information and taking it to the masses. Also showcasing the success stories through our media, which is Water Digest magazine. We are active on the social media through our platform also. We keep disseminating these information. Apart from that, we are also trying to do kind of matchmaking through the policy dialogues, where we try bringing the policy makers and the industry players, and further outcomes are given to the beneficiaries. So this entire chain, I think we play a very important role, because somehow technological interventions are there, policies, formulation is happening, but the need of the hour is the right kind of communication at all levels, so that the strengthening of the governance structure can be done. Now your second part of the question, that how is AI and everything is changing our space. So I will say our space is more like a water sector itself, where earlier we were talking about the case studies, the innovations, coming up with a new technology. Now we are talking about the engagement of these technologies, AI, IoT, digital twin in different spaces, and then exemplifying and reaching out to again the audience that this kind of technology is available. Now, with the media perspective, there also we all are seeing ChatGPT and many other tools are available where quickly you can summarize the information and then put it on the media. So there, I think it is now more responsibility we have with us, because you see the data is, information is overloaded. You write a word, you will get ample information. But which information needs to be consumed, how it needs to be consumed, all these verification, and I think media and information literacy has a very strong role to play here. So what we do and what we had been doing earlier also, we try to stick to the sources. We need to authenticate that whatever statement we are releasing in the media or we are releasing through our platform has some authenticity associated with it. So every statement is backed by the researcher, who is the one who is at the core of developing that technology. If we are talking about a policy, again, that needs to be backed by the data which is available from the authentic government sites, and simply not summarizing the content, because even in ChatGPT you will see the information looks very authentic. So you don't really know that where are the gaps. So just to verify all these data points, we have created our structure where every point we want to vet the information and then only put it in the social media. Thank you.
A really, really important role that you're playing, because there's this one problem with the world that we live in is there's equal amount of misinformation as there is information, as you said. Actually, I want to ask you a follow-up question before we move to the others, which is that I'm sure there are many people here who have innovations that they want featured and so on. What's your process of deciding who to feature, who is legitimate? You said you depend, of course, on the technology provider itself, but do you have your own in-house research team? Do you reach out to experts? How does that happen?
So, thank you again, Chair, for putting this in the question form. So, what we do, we have our advisory board panel. So, also what we do, water sector itself is huge. In fact, if I divide it in 3 categories also, then also we have domestic, industrial and agriculture, and further division. One will talk about conservation, one will be the work of NGO, something is related to the research and innovation. So what we have done, every magazine issue or whatever work we do, we kind of define the themes. So that's how first we kind of bifurcate and create different channels, that how it has to be disseminated under which head. And then we have a team of our advisory board panel. The entire content goes to the respective expert for the authenticity of the content which is given. And at the same time, another very important rule which I would like to highlight here, there are different sections of the magazine. Few sections, which is again a responsibility of the media, when it is a paid section, it's mandatory that we write it as an advertorial. That's not something which we are promoting as a media. We are just simply projecting and showcasing that information, but that information belongs to XYZ organization. So it's very important it comes under the heading of advertorial. But again, for rest of the content and even for that content, we generally have our advisory board panel who guides us, suggests us, and then only we take it forward.
Great. So I'm actually going to go to now all three private sector folks one after the other, which is each of you, Mansi, if you can start off with Digital Pani, tell us a little bit about what Digital Pani does, and then again, how the technology is changing so fast. How do you keep up with it? How is that changing and shaping what you do?
Absolutely. Hi everyone. So I'll begin by talking a little bit about what we do. So our mission at Digital Pani is to make water infrastructure actually work. What we've seen is that a lot of infrastructure is erected, whether it's in industries, whether it's government assets, such as let's say a wastewater treatment plant, but most of them don't end up delivering the results that was actually intended. In fact, if you look at, for example, wastewater, 75% of facilities are actually dysfunctional in most settings. So that's the core problem that we want to solve, because ultimately if our assets are not working, we're not going to be able to get ahead and solve our water problems. We're not going to be able to treat water, recycle water, reduce water losses and so on. So that's the core problem statement. And we focus very heavily on wastewater because we see that as the most tractable point of having an impact. It's a source of water which is local, renewable, we can create circular loops around buildings and industries. And at the same time, currently 80% of our surface water is actually polluted because of this wastewater. So it's about solving for that problem as well as unlocking the opportunity of making this a water resource. Now coming to your question about how we do this and where AI fits into this. What we've seen when we started digging into this space is that the reason a lot of these assets don't work is because these assets are complex to operate. So you have, let's say, biological processes, chemical processes, electromechanical equipments and so on. On the flip side, you have operations being done by semi-skilled, low-skilled operators. There's a lack of technical expertise on ground. People don't know what to do, when to do. They themselves don't have the tools to know what's going to happen next and so on. And that's the reason that most facilities actually don't work. So that's what we are really trying to solve through our technology, which is a software-led platform or overall solution to manage the operations. And now AI plays a very big part of that, because in order to actually achieve that, we need to both automate equipment, or we need to tell people what to do, how to do, when to do. We need to validate whether or not they've actually done that. We also need to manage all the dependencies involved in the operation process. Like for example, do they have access to pure chemicals on site? Or for example, what is the health of the pumps on site? Because if the pumps are not healthy, the whole process won't work as intended. And AI plays a huge role in doing this, because as you can guess, this is a lot of moving parts. AI allows us to simplify all of this. It allows us to talk in the operator's language, right? Where the operator can just put a voice note in Hindi and our software can understand, oh, he's saying the blower is spoiled or the blower is making noise, for example. Or it will allow us to consolidate very technically complex information and give it to them in a simple WhatsApp message that makes things easy for them. It will also allow us, for example, to predict issues in advance. It will allow us to use computer vision and visual inputs productively so that no one has to sit and analyze all of this data. So there's a lot of use cases for AI for us, and it's really been a huge unlock for us to be able to simplify operations, because without that, it's very difficult to be able to get results working with all of these low-scale, semi-skilled operators at scale. Currently, we're operating almost 75 facilities. We're looking to go towards hundreds and thousands of them. So AI is a key part of that picture.
Fantastic. Same question, Ganesh. Just repeating the question, basically explain what Cascading does, and then how the new world, how you're embracing the innovations in the new world.
This will be a bit of a repetition for you to hear from me because we keep talking. So as you know, I come from the city of Bangalore. Earlier childhood, I remember we used to have a well and we used to drink water from that well. By the time I started going to school, the well dried out. Fortunately, we got tap connection, but by the time I had to go to high school, we had to construct a overhead tank. Then went to college, we had to construct a sump. Then when I had to do my masters, we had to construct one more overhead tank. today as I talk to you, I get water from tankers. From seeing water from the well, I don't even know where we are getting the water, right? I mean, very scary. But yes, water crisis affects everybody. To build a business, we realized we'll start with somebody who has the highest risk with respect to water. I mean, who base water at the highest price and face the larger consequence from government. So industries are those who buy water at the highest price and they feel the situation is going to affect them more because they have to scrape in their share of water from all of us. So our thesis is very simple at Fluxgen, just like how water as a liquid is transparent and clear. What if you make the data of water transparent and clear, build in solution on top of it and bring in interventions? Like what we essentially do is we digitize water. Like if you consider factory, it gets water from groundwater, municipality and various other sources, rainwater. So we digitize all sources of water and consumption of water again. This is consumed in various places. Whether it is in a hotel like this, we would probably have restaurants and kitchen, or whether you consider even laundry in facilities like dairy production unit. They have milk production unit where there is cleaning process and various other process, and there is a water consumed in all these places. And then there is water stored in various places, and then there is a ATP, STP for the facility. So once we digitize this infrastructure, so you'll know how much water is coming in and going out, and if there's any leakage, wastage, excessive usage. Is the rainwater harvesting system working fine? Because most of the rainwater harvesting system work very well on the ribbon cutting day. After that, you don't know what is happening to your investment on rainwater harvesting system. And of course, wastewater treatment, Mansi has already mentioned that there is a possibility that it might work well initially and then it may not work. Again, the consumption, there is an underground pipe, there may be leakage, wastage, right, happening, you don't know. So we bring in all this digital data to identify how do you reduce water consumption by up to 30%, making sure that your rainwater harvesting system is paying off your investment, and say likewise wastewater treatment, and eventually help a facility to become water positive. So it's a long answer to what we do. Now, how does AI help, right? I keep hearing there is a water crisis. We all know, but what I also feel is more than water crisis, the water resource professionals crisis even more. I mean, you hardly find Dr. Veena like one in the whole of country, and next level to her probably even very handful of people in water resource. So how do you augment the challenge of not having enough water resource people when you're having a very crazy water crisis? So what we have developed is, we have developed something called AquaGPT, which is a Gen AI. What it does is, it takes all this data that I mentioned, it goes to the cloud, and it actually, using the expertise that we have developed with help of people like me and others, we have been able to identify what action to take when something happens, right? And that is coded into our system. And various other water professionals we hire as well. And now using this, it is able to answer toughest questions of water challenges within a facility. Assume like a question like, what is the water risk for next 1 week? It's a very nuanced question. You can't probably Veena will take 1 week to answer this for but imagine now this has Gen AI capabilities which answers this question in less than a minute by using all the data, and it will also go through your Griha certification guidelines, it will go through IGBC, it will go through Alliance for Water Stewardship and bunch of everything to actually answer this, right? Even the CGWA and the Center Pollution. So that way we have been able to develop a system, a Gen AI system that is going to answer the toughest questions. Now by this we are augmenting the water resource professional requirement through this, like a 24/7, a PhD sitting in front of you and answering the toughest questions for your facility. So like this, it has positively benefited companies like us to enhance the capability of whatever was a very visual based system that we used to. Now it is like a question and answer based. So I think, yeah, the capabilities of AI is only going to go up, and people like me, Mansi, is going to take advantage of those development to make sure that your water facility, infrastructure is very well optimized. So hopefully we can do it for ABB.
Raji, same question, but you don't have to confine yourself to AI. It could be, any kinds of sensing, any other kinds of innovation.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Veena, and good evening, everyone. And first of all, thank you, Griha, for this opportunity to share my personal view on this particular topic. Uh, from the industry perspective, like everybody has shared their side of thought process, what exactly they have been doing and how the AI has been helping them in terms of improving their efficiency might be. From our side, like ABB, I think just for information, we are engineering company basically who works in electrification and automation, and we are not into water much. I think you would be knowing we are mainly into the energy efficiency and of course, as I mentioned, automation and all. But the water topic has been considered as one of the important topic for us. Like you might be wondering that how an engineering company, keeping this water topic, like because generally we work on materiality. I don't know, many of you would have heard about this word called material, issues. So when we say material issues, generally you'll find climate change and many other things. Not as a water. You might be thinking then water, why we have taken that? So see, we work on a very localized thought process, and that's what I'm trying to tell. We should not think at a very macro level, what should be my strategy, but in a local level, what should be my approach to handle individual resources. The localized approach, that's what I'm trying to bring that thought process. And here, like ABB has its own 2030, sustainability targets where we work on climate change, water, resources, of course, zero waste to landfill, and multiple other areas like circularity, and of course, gender diversity and social various progress areas we have been working on. But water, it has been considered one of the material issue for all the factories in India. It's not abroad anywhere currently. And just for information, like this ABB out of major 7-8 factories now, 4 are water positive. In fact, currently. So water positive, when we say, I think you might have heard about this term, like we have been giving back to Mother Earth more than what we consume from them currently. And of course, it might be again be very easy, if anybody says, okay, you don't use much water. But the point is how you have considered each and every topic, in a kind of most important topic for you, and focus on those topics to get the best out of it, right? To create the value, basically. So value creation is another, thought process what we have, that whatever we do, bring some value into this, let people get benefited out of it, and that's the thought process. Here in water, when we say water positive, for example, our one of factory in Bangalore, in fact, Ganeshji also have interacted with those team members, like there, we're not just limiting ourselves within the factory, but we have been also working with regulators, in fact, our neighboring industries, the community, all these people would be part of our strategy, in fact. And that's why I don't limit the activity within the factory. That's our approach. Because we are just a company which doesn't use much water. Then you may say that, okay, within factory you would be doing it. How about your surrounding? How about your community? And that's why the overall approach of considering every stakeholder who are going to be impacted or who are having something to say on it. For example, the groundwater authority. So, you can say like this, we have started with our thought process of making our plants more water positive. In fact, down the line by 2027 somewhere, we are also looking to make all the factories in India water positive. And now coming to the point of, slightly I'll bring that IoT also because we are into this, kind of engineering side. So our own product is also in fact having certain, role to play. Like we have our own sensors, many things that we have put in our sewage treatment plants. We also have a few of the, kind of this, you can say automation system, which also improves our overall energy efficiency. Example, in our sewage treatment plant, our energy consumption has reduced close to 20-25% compared to my baseline. So that itself shows it's going to give me the cost benefit. And I think industrial thought process is that only, that what is the ROI, payback period. And that's the first thing, that we are getting quite good cost also, quite good cost benefit. Second one, coming to the data transparency. I think you would be knowing that nowadays everybody has to publish their sustainability report. Right? Even ABB India does that. And we have a called BRSR reporting system in India. I think you would be knowing any listed company, they have to do that. And in that also we have to report the right data, right? And that's why the transparency in our disclosure is also very important, where the IoT and other things, automation helps a lot to improve our disclosure. And as I mentioned, lots of KPIs like energy efficiency, the cost and all will be also be improved with this. I think that's all from my side, Ms. Veena.
So Karthik, we've had sort of three people talk about the private side. Now, one thing that non-profits do, I mean, one thing that you realize when you go outside and you look at all the stalls out there for Griha, you realize that a lot of the sustainability conversation with business is how do you help people consume more sustainable products, track their water use or resource use better, so on and so forth. When you work on the public innovation side, as both of us do, how do you connect what happens within the fence? And Rajesh kind of alluded to this thing about working outside the fence. How do you connect what happens within buildings to a city's water system? And what is kind of CEW2? And kind of can you give us a little bit of insight on how what's happening with the technology changes, what opportunities are opening, or what challenges might be coming up as well?
Sure, thank you. So basically, we at CW, firstly, just to give an introduction, CW is a not-for-profit work on data, integrated analysis and strategic outreach. So coming on to the point for the question of so what we have realized, the state plans and programs at a national level can play a catalyst for a local level. But planning can happen at a local level, but its execution also depends at a hyper-local level. So the chain that we bring from national to state, ULPs, and then to a hyper-local level is a key to make a connect and close the loop from the governance perspective. So putting some points into perspective, we initially what we have done, firstly we need to identify the problem. The persistence of the freshwater resources are already overburdened. At a national level, around 600 million people are in the condition from extreme to high water stress, and 70% of water is contaminated. So we need to make sure our innovations or the idea of circularity need to integrate both quantity and the quality perspective need to be made. So for that, we at CW have developed a used water management index framework. Firstly, to identify the problem, especially on those states that have already the policy. And it's surprising to know only 12 states have a policy on safe reuse of treated wastewater. And even in that state, either they are in a draft or in an execution state. So even in that, most of the, as a co-panelist mentioned, only 75% are underutilized. And they are very redundant and outdated kind of a thing. So coming on to the local level, we have recently developed a reuse plan for Thane Municipal Corporation. So what we did, we channelized what are firstly the water balance assessment exercise we carried out for a Thane city. Based on that, we identified what are the resource avenues where you can channelize your non-potable water demand. And after that, what are the allocation mechanism? Here comes the technology. Here comes the AI integration. So you need to prioritize. Firstly, there is some status quo. Majority of treatment plant work at a secondary level, and even that too, they don't have a basic SCADA system that should be in place. So we need to take into consideration. Yeah, this is the situation. We need to have a priorities. What should be done, and parallelly the innovation takes place. So firstly, harnessing already existing resources that you have, and then developing an innovation on that point. Supposedly in Bengaluru, we came to know there's one app called Tanker Wala app that supports providing treated use water through a digital app. So these kind of initiative, Digital Pani is already working on that part. And most importantly, since we are observing our cities are already expanding at a rapid pace, so centralized sewage system dependency need to be cut down. So aspects should be focused on decentralizing and there comes the technological innovation, both soft technological innovation, as well as we need to harness the more localized and design-based solution. For instance, recently I came across an article where JV Wipro in Tamil Nadu, is using a technology for contamination of a heavy metal for the industries. Even industries that are a bulk private user can also leverage these innovations to harness these decentralized technologies. So decentralized technologies have to play a role not only to supplement but to complement our reuse cycle and close the loop. Yeah.
I mean, great points, Rajesh, because of course, sorry, Karthik, because of course, what incentives are given, how the policy is shaped is going to determine what opportunities are available at private scale. So what I'm going to ask each of you to do is to kind of tell us one story of a success story of how your intervention was able to change, or one of your projects was able to change and achieve impact in a positive way. And then also tell us what your biggest ask or what your biggest challenge is from the larger governance policy space, where you're not able to perhaps scale something or take it to where it needs to go. So maybe you can start with that, and yeah, we'll just go down the line.
So I'll say with me to say what impact has it made, it's something which is not tangible. So our work, I feel, is a very, it's a continuous work. And if we say that, okay, fine, we have done a campaign for 3 months and we are sorted, it's not the case. The campaigns, especially the outreach and communication.
What was your most successful campaign?
So I'll be coming to that, but prior to that, I will take it on from where Karthik has mentioned about the wastewater reuse policy. So I would like to say that most of us are from the water sector and will know that there is a framework which has been created by the center, like NMCG created that framework for usage of treated wastewater. So we tried bringing the opinions of various stakeholders in formulation of that framework. And personally, you again said that only 12 of the states are currently having the wastewater reuse policy, and that also is not 100% is being implemented. So here I would like to mention that we tried disseminating this information whatever best we could, because there has to be a bottom-up approach as well. Because if you see, we talk about wastewater reuse in the agriculture sector. So which means farmer is the one who will be your beneficiary and who will be the stakeholder who will be involved in utilizing that wastewater. But unfortunately, there are a lot of misgivings about usage of treated wastewater. Not because they are not sure of the fitness of that technology which is being implemented for treating that wastewater. However, but how it has been communicated to them in terms of what is the foolproof model of implementation of that technology. So that's where we try our bit to kind of communicate and bridge the gap. And we keep pushing that whatever policy formulation has been happening, it's important to have all the stakeholders be involved so that one, there is a transparency, number two, it gives you inclusivity, and then three, it gives strength to the overall governance structure. Now talking about our campaigns, I'll not say that our campaigns specifically, we have been doing a lot of awareness campaigns on water management with various state governments. We've been focusing a lot on water conservation, tying up with the Ministry of Jal Shakti, whether it is a campaign, an initiative which they started, National Water Mission, when COVID hit and water talk was supposed to go to a mass scale through the online mode. We were the one who came forward, and at one go, this water talk was watched live by 1.4 lakh people. And we were amazed to see that so many people are participating in that program. So for us, it was a success. Going ahead, there was Ganga Quest, there was Nadi Utsav, there was Ganga Utsav, where we tried bringing participation from more than 9-10 countries. And Ganga Quest was a program for the students. Again, it was COVID time, so we tried bringing participation from various schools together. So as long as you see participation going up, people are energetic and they are participating in the same, I feel that defines the success of the program. However, I am very keen, and we are working that if we can build up certain campaigns, but it is not something which we can individually do. Most of the media, all the media platforms, knowledge centers, everyone has to come together. Even now, there is a initiative, Sujlam initiative, which is being started from the National Water Mission side also, and is being flown to the respective states. So I had an opportunity to participate in one of the forums in Chhattisgarh, and we see that how data management, again a very important aspect. So how every stage, stakeholders are being involved, like be it state, districts, panchayats, all of them are coming together and they are creating their water management plans. There are many success stories if we talk about various countries, and you talk about Israel, we know that they are the leaders in wastewater treatment. And how all this has happened is because of the communication they have looped in and imbibed in the very, very initial stages of their policy making. So if you allow me 2 more minutes, I would quickly like to share a few examples internationally quoted ones. One is, like I said, for Israel. Another one very interesting example which I can quote is from Spain specifically. There, almost 140 business units, they came together, and it was more about informing the citizens that how much water is being consumed by them. So it was a very good and successful case study, and we have featured in the magazine, and that's why I thought it will be good if I can quote it. So what has been shown, it was a project for almost 15 years. So the kind of usage, per capita usage, which was about 150 liter per capita per day, that got reduced to somewhere around 99 per capita per day after a span of 10 to 15 years. So like I said, it's not something which is tangible and within 2 months or 3 months you'll see the impacts. But yes, over a period of time, such impacts have been shown. Another example of USA, there was one metering company which I am very keen to do, and maybe I will be happy if we can get the support to kind of move ahead in this direction. So there was a metering company which tied up with the utility, and they created a campaign in which the metering company proposed to replace the meters of almost 85,000 consumers. And at the end of the day, when the consumers started getting their reports, the usage report, it brought reduction in the overall consumption of water from their side. So why I'm saying this? Because when you have the information in front of you, it builds up the perception and eventually brings the desired change. So it is a loop. And that's where I think we are trying our bit that if somewhere we can also contribute. And there are so many successful case studies, so we are trying to disseminate the same, and if the same can be replicated in India as well. So thank you.
Great point, that information is not for information's sake, but information drives behavior. Fantastic point. Mansi, same 2 questions. Tell us one of your best success stories, and then some challenges you have, because that can go to the larger ecosystem in terms of either a policy change that's needed or some capacity building, something else that's needed.
Sure. So in terms of success stories, I'll quickly touch on 2 very different examples. So one I'll touch on, let's say, a residential building or an office building, right? So we deal with many of these small decentralized units. The challenge that they face is that operating this kind of infrastructure isn't their core competency, right? So they don't know how to operate it. When we go in, we see that they're dysfunctional. So I'll give you an example of an office complex. They were basically bypassing, discharging all of their wastewater because their process was not working. And so we went in, we were able to transform their entire facility. They're now reusing 90% of it. They use it for cooling, they use it for flushing, and they use it for their gardening. In fact, we have customers also using it for their fountains, even in 5-star luxury resorts. So they've been able to offset most of their water purchase from outside. At the same time, they've been able to bring down their operating cost as well, because we saved 32% of energy in terms of bills for them. We also brought down the manpower by 50%. So that's an example of a decentralized facility. I'll take another example of a large CETP. So these are large facilities which are catering to many industries. The challenge they face is very different. They are getting in water from all these different sources. So the characteristics of the water is very complicated. They are not able to figure out what's going to happen next. So they end up having a lot of disturbances, which is a huge pollution source. So we worked with one such CETP, for example, almost 10 milliliters per day, and they were able to not only solve that problem, they're also saving 5 lakhs in operating costs per month. So they got their ROI on the system in about 7-8 months itself. So those are some examples of what different kinds of success stories can look like. And now in terms of what the larger ecosystem that would help us. So for us, the key market shapers for why customers opt for a solution at all is basically 2 things. So one is the regulatory structure, right? So the enforcement around what the discharge standards are and so on. Second aspect is water prices, because that's what ultimately customers are responding to. So, and then there's of course ESG and all, I would say that's secondary. Coming to compliances and regulatory structure, I would say improvement can be done in terms of enforcement, of course, in a lot of places. We've personally seen that some of the existing ways of doing enforcement. So, for example, in wastewater, there's a use of a system called OCMS. So, they basically have mandated monitoring of the outlet quality parameters. On ground, we found that it's completely ineffective because it's very easy to manipulate. It's very easy to work around, and it doesn't actually help. It just imposes operational cost on all these facilities. It doesn't help them operate better. So better enforcement structures, I would say, and I think a solution like ours can actually help in that regard, because in our system we are understanding all the operations processes rather than just relying on one data point to understand how a facility is doing. So more enforcement would help. In terms of water prices, I think the challenge, which I'm sure many of us face here, is water prices are very regional, very specific. There isn't much visibility either about what water price is operating where. And so I think having more unified structures and more internalization of the value of water in the water price is required. It's definitely happening. We've definitely seen a big increase in industrial and commercial water prices. But this is ultimately what everything boils down to. And I think more visibility on data on both these aspects in terms of who is facing compliance issues. It's very hard to even find data about who is polluting and how to access them or what the water prices are. We have to keep doing our own primary research. So I think even just a simple consolidation of these things would help. And these are obviously big things to ask for. A very simple final note I'll say is, I think when you start looking at large-scale facilities and public procurement processes, that's a place where there's a very tractable thing which can be done, which is just reducing the eligibility criteria for innovative solutions. Because we have participated in a few tenders where they want the innovative solution, but they still want pre-qualifications of many work completion certificates, which is not possible. So those tenders just keep going through re-tendering and nothing ever comes out of it. So that's a very simple and concrete example of what can be done. Yeah.
No, fantastic points. Ganesh, same.
Yeah, I'll go with the Tata Group they gave me my education at Institute of Science. Even the founder of Terry must be Tata Group, I guess. Right. So Tata Steel, their mines, ferrochrome, alloy, metal, minerals and alloy group, they were losing a lot of water, and it was also because it was affecting community around. Very responsible, as you know, Tata Group is. It's like how Rajesh ji mentioned, they were also very concerned on the BRSR point of view in terms of water reporting. So we were able to go to their mines in Adgar and Sukinda, and we were able to deploy our sensors there because they were not able to find out where exactly they are losing water. For a ton of whatever chromium they were manufacturing, the amount of water required was on the higher side. So we were able to put up sensors and we were able to reduce the water intake through this. I mean, of course, they utilized the insights and they were able to reduce the water intake from 1 cubic to 0.5 cubic. There were a bunch of leakage in bunch of location, and we were able to use through the flow meter and the pressure sensor. We were able to help, and in the plant they were able to reduce up to 26% in various inefficiency. I would also like to take this opportunity to tell the same Tata Group also, if you go to any of their Tata Motors site, they have lakes and small ponds to replenish their water for their own needs. And we jumped into one more problem statement they asked us to do, which is that now that we take water from lakes and ponds, can you help us the health of this lake and do the bathymetry of it? So that actually became a new problem statement to us, and we started taking data from satellite to understand the overall pond in the vicinity. We were unable to do much with the pond, with the satellite data, and we ended up building something called an unmanned surface water vehicle. A small boat goes across everywhere and identify the depth of the lake through sonar and quality of it. So that has led to, of course, build a new product line. I'm hoping the success story comes in Raichur as well with you. So yeah, I mean, that has now become like the outside the fence. So now I'm saying like one within the fence, then we are able to reduce consumption, use rainwater and various other things to become water positive. And at the same time now outside the fence, able to help facilities to rejuvenate lakes and make sure that this descent based on the depth of it. So this has opened up a new avenue for our organization where people are unable to replenish all the water. You have limited rooftop, this facility they want to do, right? You can always adopt a lake or even utilize your CSR budget in rejuvenating this. So that's, I think, how my thing in the policy would be like, because government already has this Amrit Sarovar policy where they want to have 75 lakes per district. Now, how do we enable corporates to seamlessly finance these lake rejuvenation? Because that eventually help in groundwater recharge. In fact, that's something that we are doing with Adani Group on the ground, because they take so much of water for cleaning solar panels. They are having a bunch of lakes, ponds rejuvenated. So I think somehow, how does government look at this public-private partnership on overall water infrastructure, especially this? I think that if it is done, then you're making water not only government's business, you're making water everybody's business. So how do you build a financing scheme on solving for water? If I'm like chairman of BWS has invited us for an event on 6th and 7th for a workshop, I would like to propose to him, how do you make sure that the project that you are trying to do is not financed, but you can finance through various other entities, how that can become part of their implementation. So something like this, it should be ease of doing business with government for such water infrastructure projects is something I would like to see. I mean, if you or CDW can also push this agenda, then we don't actually, startup like me and Mansi don't have to always look for governments to for project financing, but look at our own corporate network to finance such important and make it easy for all of us to utilize services. So that's the only bit of policy intervention I can suggest.
Great. Rajesh, I'm actually going to give you a very specific success story. Can you talk a little bit about the water credits? Because in a sense, water credits are a way to get private financing into public spaces. So can you talk specifically about that as a success story and then talk about some challenges you faced?
Yeah, sure. So I think, thank you, Ms. Veena. So in our case, I think I'll start with the success story slightly and then I'll come to the water credits also. So if you see in our one of the project, as I mentioned, like 50% of our manufacturing locations are water positive. In that, one of the factory, in fact, when we started our entire activities, what we found that the 6R approach, we call it, 100 R also we can have it. Even my name is from the R only, so you can have any R's. So the 6R approach, you can see different benefits. Like example, 1R is recharge. So we found more than close to 200 million liters of water got recharged to the ground. When we say reuse, like in fact, like almost a month of water is being used from the rainwater currently for that factory. Then we say another R is of course recycling. So our recycling increased close to now it's close to 87%. 87% of recycling of water what we do currently in that factory. Same way when we see another R, real-time monitoring and all these things. So we say the piezometer example when we see our water table in surrounding, we have seen there is an increase of close to 30% of water table actually. So it could be hundreds of reasons, but we have seen our recharge systems have really contributed into that. What it was in 2019, what now it is, it's close to 30% higher. The table has gone up actually. So in different R's you'll find certain improvement, right? But now your point of water credits, like how to really showcase that, really what benefit you'll be getting out of it also should be a question, right, somewhere. Because why any industry which is not water intensive may look for this type of activity which is not at all you can say financial kind of beneficial project, right? Example, I'm putting crores of crores in my recharge system, what I'm gonna get back. So the question would be, any management would be asking that why shall I put a recharge system which is not going to give you any ROI, or payback period of maybe generally in industry we look for generally 3 years to 4 years of payback and then we go ahead. But here in water you'll find payback would be close to 10 years, more than that. The point is, the non-financial benefits also that we have to look at, right? And that's why this commitment of sustainability coming into the picture. And the point of water credits coming from there, that how we can really showcase it to the outside world, and even recently, in fact, the green credit system also started, right? How a company can get benefits out of it, like whether they can get some credit out of it, they can also really get some sort of financial benefit out of it, right? So that also, I feel somewhere the government also should be looking at, right? It has to be more strengthened. Many of us, in fact, we are not aware how to, get the benefit out of it in terms of credits. So that we are, in fact, that's a challenge. What I'm saying, even the understanding of the entire trade system has to be known to all the industries, so that if they are working on water, especially on water topic, how they can get the green credits. Even the water credits could be one of the areas that should be looked at. And now coming to the challenge part, uh, if you see in our case, we had lots of challenge internally. Of course, I will come to the external challenges also. The first internal challenge, what we found is, see, as I mentioned, the transparency and the accuracy of data is very important, right? Whatever we do, it has to be more accurate, because you're going to communicate to outside world. Now here in our case, we wanted to have a overall water balance, more digitized version of that. In fact, we wanted to have a single system where I can see input and of course output. Everything is balanced quite well, and that would be giving me the result. Okay, this is the way my 6 hours are working. Currently, we have a separate system to understand what is the benefit. But I wanted to have a single dashboard where I can see that, okay, this much every day or every month I am water positive. Because generally we are getting water positive certification from Kia once in a year, right? So they come to us, they audit us, they find out, okay, these are the benefits that we have in fact got, and of course we have contributed. But for me, it's a day-to-day practice. It should be, right? Every day, how positive I am. That should be the kind of goal we should have. We should not look at the result only, but every day, what is your process? How we are really working on the water positivity, and that's the biggest challenge what we found actually currently, because we have also installed certain water flow meter for recharge system and all. That's still I feel it has to be improved, because low flow cannot be captured. So generally you are not projecting the higher amount. Actually, you are underclaiming it because of that. So I feel that side of area has to be improved, where your monitoring of the entire data would be better. In fact, in coming days, and of course that challenge we are going to address with many of the experts. In fact, I met Ganesh also just a few days back, and I came to many of the things are being offered from there. So that's the way I think we all will learn from each other, and we'll try to improve our system overall. And of course, truly we can claim water positivity with the proper data, day-to-day data. In fact, so that's the biggest challenge what I found. And externally, if you find, like of course, as I mentioned, the credit system, right? It has to be more transparent. It has to be more stronger to make people also feel that yes, they have done something and they are getting benefit out of it. And industry specifically, we look certain sort of motivation, right? Of course, we do have lots of awarding system and all, but other motivation also could be another area where government should work upon. Yeah. And of course, I think I was also thinking, sharing my view in one of the platform earlier, that even the state or city should also look at being water positive, right? Currently, we don't talk about water positive city. Right, that's actually too far actually to talk about, because we're still struggling with the basic treatment and all. But the point is, even the water positive city could be one of the area that we'll also feel nice. Okay, so we are one of the pioneer in that we have started, and of course now the city is also working there, and of course maybe nation also would be working upon. So I think that area, in fact, if the bigger goals would be clear, even the industry would be feeling better to improve certain areas, and of course they can achieve the goals. Yeah, thank you so much, Ms. Vinay.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Karthik, you want to kind of wrap, because he's thrown a challenge to you about how do you go from being a water positive campus or facility to a water positive city. So you want to give us some good success stories and then some challenges also, because I think once we move outside sort of the private one facility, then you enter a space where there's a lot more negotiation that's required. It's a lot messier. So do you want to give us both challenges and successes?
From the success point of view, I like to mention two things. As an institution, we our success is measured in the twofold. Firstly, either at a level or a national level, we are able to make an impact on the policy that can drive change at a local level. And at the local level, we plan the strategies or action plan we drive. Are it getting implemented, or the ULBs are taking, the urban local bodies to give a sense, are able to take those action plan and strategies into their planning, land use planning, city water planning, and integrating them in a used water management framework that we plan. Actions that need to be driven on. So as I talked about regarding the Thane city, so for Thane, their majority of the reuse quality avenues were the tertiary requirement. For instance, for data center, for cooling, for industries, you can't go for a secondary level treatment. So what they have done based on our assessment, they said we have a plan in place. They have inked a 500 crore project with ADB to install a tertiary treatment plant to ensure the reuse of the tertiary level needs to be able to come up at that point. So these are some of the success stories that drive changes. But having said that, there are certain heavy challenges also. The two most important challenges I face is first the institutional weakness. ULBs are not equipped to handle such amount of a change in a very small time. So training needs assessment at a regular basis, even the refresher courses for the water engineer, because they are the person they will implement the policies or action which we drive. Commissioner can drive the process, but actual implementation depends on that junior engineer who is working at the water station. So training need assessment at that level. And financing. Financing, not only there is a crunch of the financial resources with the ULB, but also the point, if ULB can raise resources through innovative financing mechanism, as you earlier mentioned, like water credits, HAM PPP model, end user investment model. These not only diversify the funding stream, but also gives the autonomy to the ULBs and reduces their dependency on the national and state funds. So now they are on the driving seat to make the changes accordingly. So these are some of the aspects and the data and information. That having said that, that is very complex and that is very messy at a city level. There are hardly any city having a water quality dashboard or a used water dashboard in a public domain. And synergy across these institutions requires one symbolic change to make these changes happen in India.
Great. So, I mean, really fascinating set of comments. I know that we are running out of time. We have 2 minutes. And they've already told us that we're not allowed to open it up for Q&A. So I hope you can catch these people outside and ask them any questions that you need. But I'm going to quickly summarize a couple of things, because I think that all of us go to Indian cities and we see our rivers, the rivers are really drains, they have sewage flowing in them. And clearly it's not technology. I mean, right on this panel we have enough people who can solve all these problems. So, and all of you have brought state-of-the-art technology as well as, data, transparency, AI, all of this, and you know how to bring down costs, you know how to create, intelligence so that these things can be understood. So we have the ability. So clearly the problem lies elsewhere, and I think Karthik did a great job in kind of highlighting a few of those things. So firstly, we know that water is cheap and technology is expensive, so paying for this stuff is going to be difficult. So we need to find innovative ways to actually drive the financing so that we can be able to afford some of these technologies that we know how to deploy. We understand, and you raised this issue over and over again about ease of doing business, which I think is a fantastic point, because a lot of this is not that the money doesn't exist and the capacity to deploy those solutions doesn't exist, but we just haven't put the coordination and the planning together so that the different agencies can talk to each other and they can interface. And Mansi, you spoke about procurement, and we all understand that in the public space at least procurement remains an issue. So I think we've got kind of a set of people who've given very good input. Anupama, I think there were 2 or 3 fantastic articles that people in this group have kind of talked about. I think the idea one he just said, right? Companies need to know how to use water credits so that they can actually get water credits and make investments in public spaces. That's kind of clearly one that's required. And the other issue on industry and industrial, the various kinds of success stories that we talked about, I think all of that is all right for, Ganesh also talked about mindset changes. I think that's required. I don't remember which one of you spoke about mindset change, but this issue of how do we get people to kind of understand some of the opportunities that are available. So I think just on this panel we've kind of got enough solutions. I hope somebody's taking notes somewhere that these will kind of make it to larger policy discussions. But thank you so much, Priya, and thank you so much for staying so late in the afternoon to listen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much for such an intense and insightful session. So before we conclude, we would request our chair, Dr. Veena, to please present a small token of appreciation to all our panelists. Can we please have the claps going? May we now request Mr. Akash Deep, DGM and Treasurer, Griha Council, to kindly facilitate our chair. Can we have a round of applause, please? Can all the dignitaries please come forward for a group photograph? In the interim, I thank all of you for being so patient and listening to all of us and the deliberations that were done today. On behalf of Griha Council, I thank all the respected panelists and audience for joining us for the session. Thank you so much.